Abroad Pod.
Hello, listener. Thank you so much for joining us on this latest edition of the Teaching Abroad Pod, where we discuss a wide range of topics related to teaching, living, traveling, and basically just loving your life while you're overseas. I'm co-hosting this week, and with me will be my colleague, Lucas LaPlante from the Oxford Seminars Job Placement Service. Lucas, how are things going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I'm excited to be talking about Germany this week. Have you been? Is it on your bucket list if you haven't?
Yeah, definitely on my list, and I have not been yet, but I do plan to go hopefully in the next little while. It's a beautiful place in the summer, lots of history.
Yeah, I've only been to Frankfurt and very briefly just to basically catch a flight, but I love being in Europe in the summer. It's just vibrancy, great energy, those major cities. So I'm really excited to hear more about what it's like to work as a freelance teacher in Berlin. Sounds really exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, enough rambling from us. Let's get right into the interview this week with Christian Molette. We're very excited to be joined this week by our guest, Christian Molette, all the way from Berlin, Germany. Before moving to Berlin, Christian taught for a variety of private, public, and international schools in the United States, as well as in Shenzhen, China. Christian is a true world traveler, and his latest adventure has taken him to Berlin, where he's been busy teaching for a number of schools. We're really excited to hear about this latest chapter in his story. So, Christian, thanks for joining us and welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here. And thanks for having me, guys. I'm a big fan of the Oxford program and everything that you guys have done. It's helped open some doors for me, so I have no complaints.
So, Christian, how did you get started in teaching English?
So when I was young, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I had worked for a few different places that my family owned where we had to provide instruction, and I realized I had a knack for it and how much I loved it. And then originally, when I was going to university, I thought, okay, I want to teach and I want to travel. Like, those are the two things I know I want to do. And so I thought, well, what's the best way I can do that? Work for either the international schools through like DoDEA, the Department of Defense. But I learned that that was kind of a luck of the draw lottery. Good luck on that, because people will literally work at that job until they die because they love it so much and they don't want to quit. So I was like, well, I could either wait around for someone to kick the bucket, or I could do something more proactive and take the leap myself. I am a man who believes 100% in pragmaticism. And so I thought, if I'm going to teach, I want to teach something that there's no question that it's important. When I was in school, I always heard, well, why do I need to know this? Why do I need to know this? But if I'm teaching you a language, you know why you need it. You know exactly what you need to do. And if I give you English, you can go anywhere in the world. So I thought, I'll do it. And here we are.
Very great. Well, it's like a universal passport. Yeah, that's what I used to tell my students as well. So you said you'd majored in English education. So have you always had an interest in languages and language education?
I always wanted to be a teacher. And when I realized that this was the most practical thing I could give them, I thought, yeah, this is great. Plus at university, we don't just study the language, but we also study linguistic history and everything like that, which I found remarkably interesting. I studied Latin, I studied Old Norse, I speak Spanish, I speak sign language. And so for me, coming into this was pretty interesting because it's just another language, another chart to study, another nuance to learn. And so languages have always been my forte.
Yeah, maybe more so than me. I tried a hard time learning Japanese.
Oof, I have, I've spent quite a bit of time in and out of Japan, and my spoken is, I had to pick it back up, but reading it, I've kanji and katakana and all the others have been quite elusive to me.
Yeah. I think for most people, yeah, it's pretty tricky.
Yeah, new alphabet, man. Yeah.
Yeah, like 3 of them actually.
Yeah. Oh, and they use all of them. So I was like, just tell me, just talk to me. I can't read.
Yeah, the spoken part did come easy to me as well.
So, Christian, do you think like being such a language nerd and a language learner yourself, does that help you be a better English teacher?
Absolutely, because it makes me enthusiastic about my job. If I walked in and I didn't care about what I was teaching, the students would know that, and I would know that, and it would reflect in the quality. Because if you walk in the room and you're like, okay, guys, today we're going to learn about this, like I'm going to be upset. I'm not going to want to learn it either, because I'm going to think, why am I here? But no, it gives me my spark. It helps me realize that, I love what I'm doing, and I don't want to stop doing what I'm doing.
And what about in terms of travel? Like, you seem like you really love travel. Did that start from an early age? Was that something you were always interested in?
Yeah, my father was a soldier, 30 years in the U.S. Army and U.S. Marine Corps. And so we lived all over the world. What brought me back to Germany was because I lived there when I was little. I lived here, but in a different city. And so, yeah, I've never really lived anywhere for more than 2 years. I've just always hopped around. Yeah.
So it says you previously taught in both China and the States. So can you compare the two? Maybe tell us what it's like teaching in China versus back in the States.
Avoiding obvious safety concerns, the Chinese schools are absolutely outstanding. Working for a private company was fantastic. We had all the funding that the public American schools didn't have. We had the resources, we had the technology, and we had the respect and the prestige, everything. It was absolutely an outstanding experience.
When was it that you left China?
I left China in 2019, well, like December-ish of 2019.
Good timing, I think.
Yeah, things were starting to get hot, and I was like, I should probably get out of here. Yeah, but I always tell people, look, it's a great job. It is a great job, and it's a great gig. The pay is outstanding. You had full range for creativity. Yeah. In the American schools, we often had scripts and too much paperwork, honestly. So I've found nothing better than teaching overseas.
And China's opening up back again.
Sure. What about Germany? What's it like teaching there?
It is a different world. I mean, obviously, it's a whole different continent, too. So one thing I've learned is, so when I worked for China, you usually work for that one company, you have a salary, you have these different things that you have to do, but it's like specifically for this company. Here in Europe, most of us are freelancers, and we work for 1 to 3 or 4 schools kind of all over the cities that we live in. And I work for 4 schools currently here in Berlin. So I can be a pretty busy guy. I've learned it's very easy to work too much.
So you must have a lot of different variety in who you teach. Like what sort of age ranges and levels do you teach there?
So here I have explicitly taught adults, but that is mainly just due to coincidence, I think. So when I was in China, I predominantly worked with teenagers, though occasionally helped with adults or young children. And then when I worked in Texas at the college as a professor, I taught only adults. And then here, the biggest money that I have and I can find is in adult learning. Travelers, business folks, everything you need. My clients are typically 20 to 65. And the levels are everything from hello, my name is to handling international negotiation law. That was a fun one. Yeah, that was
yeah. With adults, you get quite a variety, I found.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And have you been doing a mix of online and in-person classes, or mostly online? What's it been like?
It's about 50-50, actually. When I first started teaching, it was probably 80% online, simply because Germany came into a lockdown right when I got here. And because Germany was in a COVID lockdown, everything was online. There wasn't an option. I had maybe 1 or 2 students who weren't. But now that the restrictions have lessened and things are finally returning to normal, about half of my clients are actually people I travel to see. And I teach them at their workplace, and then I go to another workplace, et cetera. Some of them are group classes at a couple of the schools, and then the remainder, the other maybe 30% are online.
And how have you found the online teaching? We were talking a bit about it off mic. You said you've sort of found ways to make it fun and dynamic for your students. Has that been challenging?
You have to, because if you all just sit there with your eyeballs on a computer screen, you're going to be so bored. So you find pictures, you find videos, you put them into breakout rooms. Any teacher who is listening to this, who is going to be using Zoom, please utilize the breakout rooms, because that will allow them to talk to each other. You can pop in and monitor when you need, but it allows them to have freestanding conversation and actual dialogue practice. And then you have to just keep your energy up. You can't ever say, I'm going to match the student's energy. You have to say, I am going to give energy and just give it. And there's no option otherwise.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found that the adult students, they want to be there. So usually their energy is quite good, where sometimes younger students, not so much, because they have to be there.
Yeah. When I was in China, I was really surprised at how enthusiastic the kids were, because they would go to school at 7, get done at 5, and then come to us at 6 and be in class until 9 p.m. and then have to go back and start it again the next day. And I'm like, it's time to be a kid, you know? Like,
Yeah, definitely. Same in Japan.
With Oxford Seminars, starting your new career teaching ESL couldn't be easier. Oxford Seminars has trained more than 70,000 teachers over the past 20 years, and you could be next. Their comprehensive 120-hour program starts with live instruction from an experienced ESL teacher, followed by convenient online modules. If your goal is to relocate overseas or even teach from the comfort of your own home, Oxford Seminars' renowned lifetime job placement service will get you where you want to be. Right now, you can get $50 off your Oxford Seminars TESL, TESL, TEFL course price when paying in full by calling 1-800-779-1779 and giving the code TEACHINGABROADPOD. Visit oxfordseminars.com today to find out more.
So did you have any like funny moments or interesting stories from some of your classes while you were there?
Oh, sure. I can think of one. We were doing a lesson on borrowing. Like, can I borrow? Can you lend me? Was the target vocabulary, right? And so one of the things we had to teach them was lawnmower, right? And one of the students was like, he was like, was is the machine? You know, the vacuum cleaner for the grass? And I was like, it's like, it's so cute.
Points for creative use of English.
Yeah. I was like, man, I know what you're talking about, but yeah, that was fun. I do have a cowboy hat because I do come from Texas, and so I do bring it to my classrooms because I wear it a lot. And usually at some point, if it's a long class, we'll take a 5-minute break and I'll come back and one of the students has put it on. And they love it. And you walk in, they say, howdy.
I remember teaching kids, like, you bring a couple hats and it changes everything.
Yeah, you just pass them out. They'll put them on. You can be anything. Yeah.
Who gets to wear the hat next?
It's a hoot. Yeah.
And what about music? Like, you have a background in music. Is that something you've been able to incorporate into your English teaching?
So actually, interestingly enough, I don't use any music, but that doesn't mean it's not useful. I have a couple of colleagues, especially those who teach children, who use music all the time. They'll bring out, like, even on Zoom, they'll pull out their guitar and say, okay, kids, let's ready. And they'll sing a song with it while they're playing. I have a friend right now who teaches teenagers, and he teaches English by teaching theater. And so he always goes to a place that has a piano. They do songs, they do everything. And he has a huge background in musical theater. So I personally don't, but that doesn't mean it's not really effective for those who can.
Yeah, and there's lots of ways to use it.
Yeah. I usually, if I reference music at all, it's something for them to listen to as homework. If you want to start practicing outside, listen to Frank Sinatra or Elvis, because they speak slow and clearly, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And so you can usually find something.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the language level in Germany in general? Like, it's supposedly quite high.
In Berlin, yes. Berlin is an international city, and you will meet people who've lived here for 15 years and don't speak German. It's kind of the running joke that no one actually comes from Berlin. And so when you meet someone who, even if they're German, you say, oh, so where are you from? And if they say, oh, I'm from Berlin, you're like, oh, wow. Like, even they know that it's not normal. So everyone here speaks English because it's the common tongue. It's like 30% international. Germans who were born here speak English as adults, and their English is usually perfect. But that doesn't mean everything about those who immigrated here. People from Stuttgart or Frankfurt or Munich or whatever, they're not going to speak English at all. And so I have a fair amount of students, especially in the business sector, who don't speak English. And so they're taking lessons from me to do that. Trust me, I'm not shy of work. But if you go into southern or western Germany, you need to know your German, because they will not know English. But northern Germany, Hamburg, Berlin, be fine.
And what's daily life in Berlin like? Is it it's obviously a world-class city, an amazing city. Are you finding it incredible?
It is a hoot. Like, you never know what you are going to find in this city. There's amazing architecture from well before the war. There are places to tour called, like, the Scars of Berlin. I mean, it's the New York of Europe. I mean, you will find incredible street performers. You'll see some people literally screaming and hitting a ukulele, and it's just the worst thing you've ever heard. And then you go one block and there's some man playing classical violin on the side of the corner. And man, Berliners like to go crazy. If anytime there's a parade or a party, yeah, you'll have a good time.
All right, so let's talk money. Is it possible to earn a good living while working as an English teacher in Berlin?
Yeah. It also depends on how much you want to work. I learned pretty quick that it's easy to work too much. I took some contracts because I was like, well, I need to get some extra cash. So I took on some extra and I just kept saying yes to everything without thinking about it. And then I was working 14-hour days, 5 days a week. And so now I realized, okay, that's not sustainable. And I've scaled back. I got a ton of money doing it. And I was like, okay, I'm done. But realistically, if you're looking at finances, realistically, every month is different because it's contract based. But I mean, I have an apartment that's about 570 euros a month. And that's what's called warm. That's with bills. The easiest way to make money is you have to be patient. Because of what I do and because I have clients who like me and who keep requesting me, oftentimes they'll finish their contract at the school and be like, hey, how much to hire you privately? So right now, my first few months were lower, but now I've got a lot of private clients, like corporate contracts, like, hey, I want you to teach my team. And I say, sure, it'll be this much. And they say, sure, because they're a corporation and they pay me. So you have to be patient, but once you springboard, you use your schools as a springboard to make yourself a private freelancer, and then you are pretty well set.
You mentioned Berlin, the sort of nightlife and the city life. What about like in terms of food and drink? What's the scene like there?
Well, in Berlin, it's everything. It's an international city, so whatever you want, you got it. Drink, I mean, it's Germany, it's beer. It's beer everywhere, beer for everything. They have beer shops that are 24/7 on every street corner, and it is cheaper to buy beer than water. Like it is 25 cents or 30 cents for a bottle of German beer and 2 euros for a bottle of water.
Wow. Well, that's it. I'm going.
Yeah. Great.
So what about travel? Have you had time to sort of travel around there yourself and explore any interesting spots?
Yeah. I've been down to Bavaria a couple of times. I'm going down to Dresden actually tomorrow morning. My wife and I decided we're going to go camping. And so Dresden is an absolutely stunning city. I mean, it's pretty easy to travel here. There's a flight system called Ryanair, and I could fly from Berlin to Madrid, Spain for 7 euros.
Like, I hear the countryside is quite beautiful there as well.
Bavaria. Yeah. It looks like Ireland, lush, green everywhere. A little bit less rain than Ireland though.
Oh, well, probably makes sense.
So we have a final question we always ask at the end of the interview, and that's if you have advice for anyone who's just thinking about getting started in this teaching English sort of adventure that you've been working on for so many years. Do you have any advice for anyone, and maybe also some tips for success if people are thinking about getting started in this kind of adventure?
If you want to start teaching English, do it. Absolutely do it. Your best bet is going to be to go to Asia. That is where everyone starts, and there are a lot of us that go there and stay. I live a particular lifestyle that wasn't quite suited to Asia. I still love it, still love going there, but Europe has more of the things that I tend to look for in my daily life. So I came here because I wanted to do that. But if you want to do it, do it. Do the paperwork, get the certification, and do it. You'll never look back.
That's some good advice. I mean, Europe can be a little hard to break into. That's true. Yeah. But what we said about Asia is definitely true. It's a really good place to start for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, thank you very much. We really appreciate the time you took to chat with us today.
Happy to be here.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the Teaching Abroad pod. We'll be releasing new episodes regularly, so be sure to keep checking back so you don't miss any new episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, please also be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And remember, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Music, Stitcher, and most of the other places you find your podcasts. If you have any great ideas you'd like us to discuss on upcoming episodes, you can leave them in the comments on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or you can email them to us at teachingabroadpod@oxfordseminars.com. Luke, thanks for joining me, and thank you, listeners.
Thank you.